Hey everybody, it's Kim. I just wanted to come to you for a little bit this afternoon, and I wanted to talk to you a little bit about a story in the Bible that just really leaped off the pages to me today. Now, this is not a new story. It's not a great revelation that I just came across. This is a Bible story that I've probably heard since I was a small child. It's found in 1 Samuel chapter 16, and it's in the first 13 verses. And I'm just going to kind of say it in Kim's language. Basically, Saul, who was chosen to be king, had just really messed up. And the Lord knew that he needed to appoint another king. So he sent his prophet Samuel to look for a king among the sons of Jesse. Now the Bible talks, and to paraphrase, it talks and says that they kind of went down the line and presented all these tall, handsome, and warriors and men of great stature and everything that looked like they were just going to be the perfect one. So much so that even Samuel was perplexed why he didn't feel that unction within him to anoint any of them, because they all fit the bill on the outside. They all looked like they would be the obvious person. So he asks the father, he asks Jesse, he says, is there anyone else? Because the Lord kept saying to Samuel, no, not that one. No, not that one. No, not that one. So Samuel's just simply saying, have you forgotten to bring a son out? Is there somebody else that's not here? Because I know God sent me here to anoint somebody to be the king. And Jesse just kind of says, well, let me think, because there's David, but he's out in the field tending sheep, and he wouldn't be what you're looking for, really. He just looks after the sheep. And the Bible goes on and says, he was kind of ruddy in complexion, and he was just kind of, I've always pictured him just kind of this little thin kind of a wafer of a guy, a little bit of a waif or whatever, just kind of slender. And we know that he loved poetry and he loved music and everything, so he probably just was kind of looked at as somebody who just wasn't qualified, the least likely. And the Bible story goes on to say that when David came before Samuel, Samuel heard the Lord say, that's the one I want. That one there, the least likely. That's the one that's going to be king. That's the one I'm going to use. A lot of times we can look at our lives and we can look at the things we've done, the places we've been. We can look at our qualifications, and we can see nothing in us that would ever, ever, ever qualify us to be even noticed by God or used by God. We can tell times in our lives when we've been passed over, when we've seen great people do great things, and it's never even been a thought to us that God would use us. And David ended up being a mighty king. He ended up doing valiantly for the Lord. He had some mess ups, he had some mistakes. All in all, he was a man after God's own heart. And that's why I've always, always, always loved the story of David. It's a story of a young boy out in a field that nobody thought was really worth anything. And yet God saw him and said, that's the one. I can connect with David because that's kind of my life. Not that I was out in the field tending sheep, but actually when I was just a little girl, I used to go out and bring the cows in, so maybe that's something like it. I was probably the least likely to do anything with my life. I was given to my grandparents, left with my grandparents when I was 2 years old, by parents who were supposed to come back and get me and just never did. And I think I've shared that before in another video. My entire childhood growing up, I was pretty much every day of my life told that I was a bother, that I was a nuisance. And that can stay in you, that can get in you. And I grew up really understanding that, it would have been better off if I had never been born. And I remember just times of my life of just feeling worthless, of feeling, even as a child, that I was no good, that I would never be anything. And I would, try so hard to please, try so hard to be that child that would just be of value, but it just never changed. It never changed really my entire growing up. Yet, somewhere along the line, there was a God who saw something in me. And it boggles my mind. I can't comprehend it all when I think of the fact that before the foundations of this earth, he had a plan for my life. It boggles my mind when I think of the fact that even through rejection, God was keeping me. When I think of the scenarios of my life and where it could have gone and where I could have ended up, I realize that God had his hand on my life. There's a song that says, "From my mother's womb, you have rescued me." And when I think that's words, and when I think of that song, that actually I can never get through that song because I always cry through that part, because it means so much to me, because when everybody else thought there was nothing of value in me, God said, that's the one. That's the one I want to use. That's the one I want to do something with her life. That's the one that's going to preach my word. That's the one that's going to worship before my throne. And I don't say that bragging in any way at all, because I'm humbled by the fact that when nobody else saw anything, and when I didn't see anything, God saw something. And then I go further in my life and I look at all the things that I did wrong. All the times that feeling of low self-esteem and low self-worth made me choose paths that I should never have walked, made me make decisions I should never have made, and made me do things that I should never have done. Just searching for acceptance, searching for love, searching for someone to see some value in me. That whole time, God's hand was on my life. Through my mistakes, through my failures, through my falls, through everything, his hand was on my life. Because way, way, way back, he had said, that's the one. That's the one I'm going to use. I don't care what people have said about you, what they have spoken over you, what they have done to you to tell you that you are not of value. But I want to tell you today, you have value. To God, you are precious. To God, you are a valuable gem. To God, there's a plan that he needs you for. There's something he needs you for. He created you, and he has a plan to give you a hope and a future. It doesn't matter who thought that you should just stay out in the back pasture and watch the sheep. God has chosen you. He's chosen you to fulfill something in these last days. So I'm saying to you today, just let those words that have been spoken over you, that have made you feel like you're no good, let those things that happened, maybe those choices you made that made you feel that it's over, that there's no more hope, just let them go. Just let them go. God has not changed his mind. He has not changed his mind about you. He has not said, well, I'm just going to give this plan to somebody else because obviously they're not what I thought they were. That's not how God is. He is just waiting. He's just waiting for you to step in. And I talk about that a lot on these. I talk about it a lot because I was that person. I was that person. And God has used my failures. He's used my mistakes. And he's brought me to a place where I can be used by him if I'm willing. Even today, sometimes, there are times when I look back on my childhood and I can really easily get myself to a place where I think, I'm just being ridiculous here. there's nothing in me that God can use. This is just a big joke. It's true. I'm 60 years old, and there are days when the enemy will come to me and he will say, he should never have picked you. There's nothing that you can do. There's nothing of value in you. But the fact is, he chose me. And he's chosen you to fulfill something for his plan. Don't let mistakes, don't let past failures, don't let people's words take away the opportunity to do the most glorious thing that you can ever do with your life, and that's serve him. Serve him. Serve the God who one day looked at you and said, that's the one I want. God bless.